Peace and love, everybody, and welcome back to another Sunday Hope and Healing session. I'm Royce Thomason, and we're always happy and thankful for the opportunity to be able to be with you and share with you. We're coming live from the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York. Technically, we're actually at an Airbnb. We're going to just kind of walk around this place. But I want to just mention real quickly what our topic for today is, and then we'll continue this partial tour of where we're staying. But our theme for today is being intentional with your intentions, being intentional with your intentions. And our being here is a function of being intentional with our intentions. So we're actually here as part of a birthday celebration for my beloved, whose birthday is actually next weekend. And when I asked her what she really wanted to do for her natal day, she said that she wanted us to do a retreat here and focus on our goals and what things we want to accomplish for the coming year. And so we made it to be here. There are a lot of things that became possible for us to be able to do so. There was an option for us at the Omega Institute, which is a place where a lot of spiritually focused classes and retreats and things of that nature take place. It's a wonderful place for lifelong learners. There's actually a meditation class that's been going on for this weekend. And they also have, if you're not signed up for a specific workshop, you can actually sign up for what they call R&R, or rest and restoration, or something like that. Anyway, that's what we were opting to do because we were planning on doing our own retreat. And you can stay on campus. There's an option of staying in a private room, in a cabin, in a room. It's kind of like a dorm where there's a shared restroom, or camping. And we're actually in this humongous, beautiful house. Is an Airbnb, the Cold Springs Creek House. I'll share a link, and we're going to do a quasi tour of the place. We're actually staying in this big old 5,000 plus square foot house that is really truly beautiful in this wonderful rustic environment that we're in, for cheaper than it would have been to have actually stayed on campus at the Omega Institute. That was part of manifestation of being intentional and setting forth some intentions. And so again, I'll take you kind of on a little bit of a tour. We've got the kitchen over here, which is a quite nice kitchen. And if I could figure out how to reverse the camera, I would do that. Really nice stove. The refrigerator is pretty fantastic. They've got a nice water purification system, but it's a really wonderful space. This is the room that we'll be broadcasting from. It's kind of a great room. There's like a 20-foot ladder here from the floor. It goes way up, and it moves like the ones that you'd see like in old houses that had, like mansions, I should say, that had like big libraries inside of the house itself, or the mansion itself. Outside, it's beautiful. Outside, wonderful, natural kind of environment. And I want to see, is there a way that I can actually switch? Okay, I don't want to worry about switching the camera because I don't want it to mess up for the stream when we're actually getting into the healing component of being intentional with our intentions. Heading into the dining room area. And so this dining room table, actually, they bought a tree. Brian and Kim Gaffney, the owners of this home, And by the way, if you're interested in this place, I'll put links and contact information for them if you want to utilize this place for an Airbnb. It's just a few minutes up the road from the Omega Institute. But this table seats at least 10 people. And it was actually from a tree that they had. They actually had this table made from a tree that they had. It's a beautiful table. There's a great room over here, another great room kind of that we're entering into. This is the theater room. There's a lot of seating area. It's a humongous couch, a nice ottoman, some other chairs. And you can see over here, kind of outside, see what's going on. Well, you can see it's a lot of land that's here as well. Nice fireplace. They have Sonos sound system in multiple rooms in this space. And there are a lot of little areas where you can actually be outside here. Actually have a grill over there. Looks like a bird passed away over there. Anyway, then there's another little outside. Okay, looked like I temporarily lost connection to the mic. So there's another little outside seating. There's outside seating area here. Because I've got the mic reversed, the camera not reversed, you can't really see it as well. There's another little outdoor alcove that's screened in that you can check out there. I'm not gonna go down to where the pool is, but there's a very large indoor pool in this place. And this is kind of like a game room. Again, a lot of seating. There's a foosball table, a big air hockey table. There's a sink, refrigerator in here. And you can see where the pool is. We weren't going to be using the pool, so, it just kept it covered. There are also some games in here. They're like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 bathrooms in here. But it's a beautiful space. And I intend to do something here for Transcending the Matrix. For those who like a Transcending the Matrix retreat or a Transcending the Matrix class, where we're all staying in the same place. This is in upstate New York. It's a beautiful rustic environment. Like there's a lot of wood, not painted wood, but stained wood all throughout this place. Has a really nice vibe to it. And we'll go to where some of the bedrooms are, just kind of real quickly. Even the bathrooms have cool things in the bathrooms. I'm not gonna worry about going into the bathroom. Here's one of the bedrooms, has a queen size bed and bunk bed situation going on. Again, you see all this wonderfulness. It's got loft ceiling in here. And actually this room, wait, this is the closet. Oh man, nice big walk-in closet. We'll go through one of these restrooms because this is a Jack and Jill bathroom. It's actually, got 2 sinks, one over here, one over here. I'm not turning on the light for over there. Nice big shower. And then there's a water closet over there. And then in here, there's another bedroom with another queen size bed, rocking chair. And there's a ladder. There's another loft that's up there. Okay, they're full length, mirrors in the place. Little alcove here. I didn't go through turning on the lights, but with the desk there, people wanted to do something with that. And then this is another like loft area, really large loft area. Can you see it? Because the video is really small on this end that I'm looking at, I can't really see what all you're seeing. But I'll kind of turn it down. You can see, you know, down to the lower level here. They're jazz albums, like classic jazz albums, John Coltrane and others. There's some Miles Davis actual vinyl that you can play. There are these little lights that are, when it's dark, so that you don't trip going up another set of stairs. Oh, this is another one of the bathrooms. It's a cool set. Okay, all right, I think the audio is back. There's another bedroom in here, a king size bed in there. And I haven't really been showing like the outdoor views or anything, but all of the bedrooms have, this is actually maybe the least view because the tree is there kind of blocking it. But there are all these wonderful areas in this place. And again, we're in this place for less than it would have been to stay in a room on the actual campus and still able to participate in the wonderful things on the campus. And so, again, I'll put links to this house as well as contact information for the Gaffneys if you want to rent this space. Wonderful place for a retreat or something, definitely reasonably priced. And I'll put information for the Omega Institute too. By the way, regarding the Omega Institute, the food is fantastic. It's farm to table. You end up having some wonderful dialogues and conversations. We've met some really nice people that just have a good vibe. The kind of people who come here, people who are just open and warm, you know, people who have an open mind, looking to expand, looking to grow, looking to be the best versions of themselves, looking for ways that they can contribute. It's a diverse kind of environment, very much a sense of community. We've had wonderful conversations with people who are here, R&R, people who are here for the class, people who, you know, who work here, people who've been facilitating things. Shout out to DJ Born Eye, who did this wonderful thing yesterday. Anyway, let's go ahead and actually get into, and I hope the camera's straight, get into the Sunday Hope and Healing session itself, which again, today's focus is on, and by the way, I wish I could have taken you to the master bedroom, which is really, really nice, beautiful king size bed in there. There's a lot of light that comes in. It's got electronic blinds that go up and come down. It's got heated floors in the bathrooms, in the bedroom, and excuse me, in the bathrooms. It's is really dope. It's really dope. But anyway, forgot to bring some water with me. In terms of being intentional in setting your intentions, oh my gosh, that's so important, right? And so, how many times have you been in a conversation with somebody and maybe you felt a little offended by what they said and they responded, oh, that's not what I meant. Or maybe you were the person who said something to somebody that they ended up feeling offended by, and you were the one saying, no, that's not what I meant. Or situations where you or somebody has said to you, I didn't really intend to do that. Okay. Or somebody ends up being hurt by something that you do or that you refrain from doing. And you're in the situation where you're kind of defending yourself in a way, and say, or maybe somebody else is doing that to you, where it's being said, well, that wasn't my intent, or that wasn't my intention. Okay. But the reality is that their experience was the result of maybe a lack of you being intentional, or a lack of them being intentional with their intentions. And so what this is really speaking to is being consciously focused and intentional in what your intent actually is, whether this is how you're interacting with others, the impact that you want to have upon another human being, or what it is that you want to set up and call forth into your life. All right. Our being here this weekend has been the result of the latter, but I think that I can comfortably say that both my beloved and I are pretty intentional in our intentions as it relates to how we communicate with people and how we interact with people. And as a result, people don't usually feel offended by us because we're intentional with our intentions and how we communicate and how we interact with people. It isn't to say that we're perfect in that by any stretch, that either one of us are, because we're all a work in progress, but we are intentional with our intentions and how it is that we interact with others. And for those who are able to experience some of the wonderful things in life that many of us dream of, there's a certain intentionality that's required there, being intentional with our intentions. There's some things that we're wanting to manifest in our lives, and so we're being intentional in what we're intending. Energy follows consciousness. Where you're putting your thoughts, where you're putting your energy, is what ends up showing up in your life. I don't want to go doing a whole sermon or soliloquy on that right now. But if you look at your life, see if the things that you're thinking about aren't the things that show up in your life or not. Okay. And so I think that all of us want to experience life unfolding beautifully for us. We want to be able to experience a sense of joy and sense of gratitude. I believe that we want to be able to have things that we can feel grateful for. And the thing about it is that there is so much for which we can all be grateful. And when we are focused in that vibe, we end up finding that we're experiencing more things for which to be grateful. When we're in situations, conversely, where, we don't seem to be satisfied with anything, nothing ends up showing up in our lives that we're satisfied with, because that's the energy that we're vibrating in. Okay. But the energy that we're endeavoring to vibrate in is to be able to have a life where we have entered into a sustainable state of supreme satisfaction. Can you get with that, people? Who here wants to actually experience a sustainable state of supreme satisfaction? Oh my gosh, how delicious is that, right? Okay, so we're actually going to get into some healing to help break down some barriers that are keeping us from being as intentional in our intentions as we might like to be, so that we can live on purpose, so that we can call forth the things in life that are in alignment with the greatest versions of ourselves and the grandest experience that our life can possibly be and express. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and get into the healing now. I'm going to start with a prayer. And I'm just going to ask you to focus your intention in your heart. In your heart center, breathing in the light of God's love into your heart. And exhaling the light of God's love from your heart. I'm going to ask you to take another deep breath. And as you're taking this deep breath in, I'm going to ask that you focus on the spirit of gratitude, thanksgiving. And breathe out the spirit of thanksgiving. So that thanksgiving is what's coming into you. And thanksgiving is what's flowing out from you. So that you're breathing in, you're inhaling, you're inspiring thanksgiving, and you're exhaling, you're expressing thanksgiving. It's going outward into the cosmos, and others may then breathe in that sense of thanksgiving. And from this heart-centered, grateful state, now let's lift this prayer. God, I know you to be a healer, a deliverer, a transformer, a redeemer. And through the union that we share, through the power of your pure love, I am demonstrating you as a healer. On behalf of all of those tuned in to this Sunday Hope and Healing session, if you would, state your name, either silently or out loud, as well as the name of anyone who you would like this to be able to bless them in their lives. Set forth that, be intentional in setting forth the intention of who you want to be blessed in this way. Include them in this prayer and in this healing. All right. For the point of neutralizing the causal root of being haphazard in our intentions and ending up manifesting things that we don't want to actually bring to pass in our lives. From the point of the causal root and the entire energy field of every strand of DNA and every cell of our bodies, and transmuting that into and replacing it with being so profoundly and divinely aligned with the blueprint of life by which we were magnificently and wondrously created, and to be able to be so aligned in that regard that we're profoundly intentional in the intentions that we set and purposeful in how it is that we go about life in a way that magnetizes and reflects the goodness of God through our lives and experienced in our lives in ways that leave us in a state of awe, wonderment, and joy for how wonderfully things can unfold for us, for how beautiful life can be for us, and how magical we can be when we, through our intentionality of setting forth our intentions, the things that we can see brought forth and come to pass in our lives. And I bear witness to our wholeness on this date and in this time and space called now. Thank you. Thank you for this gift of your divine love. It is done. It is done. It is done. Okay. All right. So let's actually, and big shout out to everybody who's here with us today. Unfortunately, because of the format that I have this set up from on my phone today, I'm not able to see the comments, but to Curly Conscious King and whomever else may be here with us today, from my heart to yours, I'm sending love in your direction with the intention that it's reaching you exactly where you need to be reached, where you need to be touched, the places where love is called, the place where you in your heart would like to experience a greater fulfillment and expression of love in your life. Okay. All right. So let's get into this. So let's first and foremost, let's deal with this concept of limitation. Let's deal with this concept of limitation and transmute this concept of limitation within our mindset, within our consciousness. And let's actually look at how many programmings of limitations that we have going on inside of us. And I'm getting like more than 20 million, like 40 million different ones. We're going to clear that from the slate. We're going to hit the all clear button on that, delete that, purify those things with the power of pure love, where they're being deleted, transmuted, purified, cleared through the light of the Holy Spirit and transmuted into infinity consciousness. Now let's boost us up with that infinity consciousness and the consciousness that with God all things are possible. I want to strengthen us to where that reality, that consciousness resides within our brain, yes, but within every cell of our bodies. Where every cell of our bodies are resonating and vibrating with the concept, the belief, and the reality that with God all things are possible. Okay, now there's a part of us that we need to address in terms of our own sense of worthiness, in terms of thinking that, yes, it's possible, but it's not God's will for us to have a life where we're feeling profoundly fulfilled. So I want to transmute that through the power of pure love. Want to deal with any false belief systems that would have us in a fear-based state. False belief systems as it relates to God and as it relates to God wanting us to struggle and have a hard time, and that we need to be punished for our bad acts. So let's transmute that belief system into awareness of a divine grace. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't consequences for things that we do or things that we perhaps should have done that we left undone. But for that, let's deal with really being mindful and really taking our lessons without them having to be harsh lessons. I'm thankfully at a point in my life now where it doesn't necessarily take a really hard lesson for me to get the teaching. Like there's something that I was supposed to learn, like don't be judgmental of people or, whatever particular thing. And I'll like get just a little gentle nudge, a little tap on the shoulder. Like that's not in alignment with where you want to be. And then I'll course correct and make the adjustment because I'm intentional with my intentions, where it is that I want to be, how it is that I want to show up in the world, what type of experience I want people to have when they're in my presence. There's a little fly flying around. I guess it wants to be in the video. I guess it wants to hang out and maybe participate in this energy. Anyway, I want to strengthen all of us to be able to forgive ourselves for our so-called misdeeds and forgive ourselves for the things that we left undone that would have been good for us to have done. Okay. Want to also look at strengthening our ability to actually release resentment. You know, when we hold on to resentment, it's like taking a gun and shooting ourselves in our own feet. Okay, or taking a bow and arrow and shooting ourselves in our own feet. It handicaps us. It limits us from being able to move through life in the way that we would want to actually move through life, because we're bound. We're not in a state of freedom if we're in a state of resentment. So we want to transmute that resentment into there's this concept called let them. Strengthen that in us. I see the lady's name who wrote the book. I can see her in my mind's eye. Her name escapes me. But if you look up let them, you'll see her. You'll know what I'm talking about. The concept of let them is allow people to be who they are, basically. And you be who you are and flow in who it is that you are. Okay. Don't give anybody else the power to control your internal state. Okay. So I want to strengthen us in terms of claiming our own authentic power and our own sovereignty over what our emotional state is and over where it is that we choose to allow our vibration to be. I want to strengthen us for that. Be profoundly empowered to be able to allow our vibratory rate to be in alignment with who it is that we are intentional about being, okay? And how we are intentional about growing, how we're intentional about growing and being the absolute most evolved versions of ourselves that we can be. See, the thing about being spiritually evolved is that stuff doesn't reach you in the same way. It doesn't affect you in the same way. Even if somebody says something stupid, if you will, it just doesn't affect you in the same way because you write that off as them being in their own state of brokenness or their own state of lack of consciousness. And it just kind of doesn't stick to you. It runs off like water on a duck's back, right? Okay. All right. And I want to, in that context, it is appropriate for us to be able to establish, set, and you know, honor some healthy boundaries. Okay. All right. Now, as far as this being intentional with our intentions, I want to infuse us with a consciousness of limitlessness. Of limitlessness. You know, this big, beautiful house that we're in is actually a manifestation. It's my beloved's godson's parents own this place. And so, and I'm not saying that we got here cheaper than it would have been because my beloved is friends with the people who own this place. But it would have been that regardless. You know, it would have been that regardless. But anyway, this place was a manifestation, and this isn't their home where they usually live. This is a Airbnb situation, a couple hours from where they actually live. But it was a manifestation. My beloved told me about the process of calling this forth into existence. It took like 3 years for the renovation of this place, and it is absolutely fantastic. Again, I will be doing some Transcending the Matrix something here and look forward to that. And I know that it is going to be an absolutely wonderful experience for all of us. All right. I'll also be teaching something at the Omega Institute, which is a place I had known about years and years and years, a couple of decades ago. But I want to actually increase our consciousness in terms of limitlessness in terms of what good is possible, limitlessness, to understand that um, that if your mind can conceive it, then you can achieve it. I want to strengthen that. I want to deal with any sense of imposter syndrome. Okay. In terms of like fake it until you make it. Create the reality in your mind and be able to experience it, fully experience it emotionally, as if it's already happened, as if it's already done. Okay. Even if it seems a little delusional to do that, or out of touch with reality to do that. Here's the reality. Reality only exists in your mind. And if other people don't choose to necessarily line up with your reality, that's okay. You know, you being able to tap into a vision and to be able to experience that vision as a current reality. It doesn't have to make sense to other people, but it will work for you. When I developed this methodology of transcending the matrix, I didn't know how this was going to come about. I'm able to participate in people's healings, and I don't have to be physically present with them to participate in their healing, and it being something that's very profound for someone, and to be able to teach other people to do that. That was a function of being intentional with my intentions and tapping into a future reality and being present in that future reality in the present moment. Okay. All right. So part of us being intentional with our intentions is to wonderfully and beautifully create a marriage between our left brain and our right brain. Okay, we want to strengthen that that connection between our left brain and our right brain. It's your left brain that actually helps you to set the intention. It's your right brain that helps you to call it forth into being. Okay, it's your left brain, the logical part of your brain, the intellectual part of your brain, that can have you setting forth the plan. It's the creative, the emotional part of the brain, the right brain, that can have you actually enter into a world where this already exists, and then toggle back to your left brain in terms of putting the things in motion that need to be done physically to help bring that into physical manifestation. But there is an emotional creation of it in terms of feeling it as being real, that's tied to the right brain. And then there's the aspect of setting forth the plan and then carrying out the actions that will get you there in terms of that left brain. Okay, and actually doing what needs to be done to bring that about. But there'll be things that will line up for you, and you'll see that as you utilize the right brain mechanisms and the magic that is there and available to us through it. Okay. You know, we were created in the image and likeness of God. I'm talking to you right now. You were made in the image and likeness of God, the one who called this earth into being, who called the sun into being. You have creative power within you. And it doesn't have to make sense to other people. It doesn't have to make intellectual sense to people. This wonderful, seemingly impossible thing. But you can tap into a part of you that can see it as a completed work, experience it as a completed work, have the vision, call it forth into being, and then experience it as it being so. Okay? All right. Now, something else I want to address in terms of what stand in the way of us being intentional with our intentions is being complacent with being irresponsible. Okay. So that means getting rid of excuses Excuses are tools of incompetence that build monuments of nothingness and bridges that lead to nowhere. Those who use them seldom, if ever, accomplish anything. That's something I learned as a student in college while going through a certain initiation. So let's look at our attachment to our excuses. That's something that we certainly need to address energetically. All right, want to delete that attachment to our excuses. The excuses, in a way, help us to feel safe, but we don't want our excuses to help us feel safe anymore. We want to feel safe in being self-accountable and holding ourselves accountable for our intentions. Okay. All right. And we want that sense of accountability to feel safe to us, for it to feel natural to us. Okay. And I want to actually also strengthen us to really be bold in what it is that we are intending, and be bold in terms of accountability. Okay, I want to really boost up that accountability piece. Okay. The first ever Transcending the Matrix class in September 2003, I scheduled the class before the technique was developed yet. But because it was scheduled and I've been putting all this stuff out there, I was accountable for it. I had to make sure that it happened. And the manual for the Transcending the Matrix training manual was actually only completed on the morning that the first class started. Okay. But there was no backing out of it. There was no going back. There was no making excuses for why this couldn't be done. You know, I made the decision that this was the case. Okay. I'm just using that as an example. All right. So I want to strengthen us for being able to actually be bold in what it is that we want to declare for our lives, be bold in our commitment to accountability. This accountability thing really needs some boosting, so we're going to boost that. And our commitment to holding ourselves accountable, and even to strengthen us to be okay with other people holding us accountable for what it is that we've said, what it is that we've intended, the intentions that we've put forth, what it is that we've said that we're going to do, and then to then be able to, it's really all part of operating in a spirit of integrity. Whew, got a big break on this integrity thing. So let's strengthen us in terms of our integrity. You know, part of integrity, just a huge part of integrity, is doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. Okay, so I want to strengthen us for that. Strengthen us in terms of deleting any character deficiencies that would strip us of being people of integrity, of strong integrity and strong character. Okay. All righty. We're going to do a couple more corrections and then we're going to close it out for today. Let's look at actually aligning us with the joy consciousness. So I want to strengthen us for the vibration of joy to be resonating within us. Okay. Now, the thing about joy is it's not actually based on circumstances, but joy can call forth certain types of circumstances. Energy flows where consciousness goes. Okay. Or where consciousness goes, energy flows. All right. Thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. All right. So when we're in a state of joy, we call forth more things to be joyful about, although the joyfulness itself isn't contingent upon things working out a certain way. and yet it will still call forth things working out in a certain way. All right. So I want to take that joy consciousness, and I want to actually not only retrofit us for joy consciousness, but I want to infuse that joy consciousness retroactively to our ancestors. Not just our ancestors, but our family lineage, even those who are still on the planet right now, who came before us. Okay. All right. And infuse a sense of joy for generations that follow us. You know, joyful people are much more pleasant to be around than non-joyful people. And joyful people tend to experience life much better than those who don't have that sense of joy. Okay. All right. And we'll make this the last thing that we're going to do for today before we close it out. And so let's make this a good one. I want to deal with right now the belief in God's ability to work in and through you. Okay. The belief of the presence of God in you. Let's strengthen that. Let's strengthen that to infinity and beyond. Okay. Now, in connection with that, let's kind of weaken those things that would take away from that. And that's the things that you've heard from others that maybe sought to undermine your sense of self-efficacy. So we want to delete those, transmute them into a profound sense of self, not just in terms of the ego self, but in terms of the unified self. Okay. In terms of the uppercase S self, your higher self, your bigger self, the biggest version of you, the best version of you, the most evolved version of you, the part of you that is divinely aligned and never came out of alignment. And to be able to create that as, oh goodness, to be able to create that as our identity. Align with that as our identity. I've gone this whole thing and didn't get a break that big as that one. So let's actually put a little more extra love and a little more extra intention in that area. Okay, it's looking a lot better now. All right, so let's go ahead and close us out in prayer, and we'll close out the session. God, thank you so much for the healing that's gone forth today, for strengthening us to be intentional with the intentions that we set forth in terms of how it is that we interact with other people, how we utilize our words, how we communicate with other people, the impact that we have on other people, and being intentional in terms of what it is that we call forth in our lives, being purposeful in how we direct our lives and what we endeavor to do with the lives that we have and what we are intentional in calling forth into manifestation in our lives. Thank you for all of the things that were addressed within us today. Thank you for every area where your love and your grace and your peace and your power were made manifest within us today. And thank you for the wonderful and magical things that we are empowered to call forth in our intentional intention to dwell in a sustainable state of supreme satisfaction. And for this, we give great thanks and affirm it is done, it is done, it is done. All right, beloved. Again, I will put links to the Cold Springs Creek House, as well as the Omega Institute, in the description for this video. I'll also put how you can contact Brian and Kim Gaffney if you're wanting to utilize this space, and be on the lookout because there's going to be something that we'll be doing here, and I'm looking forward to that. Anyway, until we meet again, I bid you adieu with peace and love, and we'll catch you next time.